نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته, and welcome to another episode of Khatam. I'm sure you can hopefully recall from the last episode where we had detailed in great depth, to be honest, how idol worship and idolatry had reached the Hijaz, and in particular had reached Mecca and Medina, and its focus on what were considered as originally monotheistic places of worship had now taken an idolatry, a paganistic, a polytheistic approach instead. We talked about Safa and Marwa. We talked about the Kaaba and how over a period of time, instead of being what they were originally built for and what they originally stood for, they had now stood for quite the opposite. And darkness had gained pace and strength over the Holy Land until there was hardly anywhere pockets of monotheistic faith left, and even that was tarnished in some way or another. We did say before we finished the last episode that what we hopefully will try to detail now is the arrival of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how he fits in terms of his lineage. And I will hope to put in front of you today is the lineage of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a poem structure, as I mentioned last week. And this poem is by Imam Abul Abbas Abdullah ibn Muhammad an-Nashi, and it's one which discusses his genealogy, of course, but it also discusses some of his characteristics, some of his excellences, his fazila, those attributes which he possesses, which makes him who he is, head and shoulders above everybody else, and we're going to hopefully put that in. And I did say, if I have, inshallah ta'ala, I will try to put my own lineage in there as well afterwards, as to how I link to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there's I did mention a particular individual. I said to you this chap called Adnan, and this Adnan is it's quite clear the lineage between the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the way up to Adnan. There's very little doubt, some sort of speculation, but it's virtually concrete. It's where it goes after Adnan up to Ismail and then alayhi salatu wasalam, and then by extension onto Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, where there is some difference of opinion and difference of views. But it's not that there's a question of whether Adnan is in the lineage to Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam and Ibrahim. Of course he is, because as a result, so is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam by extension from Adnan. So that's not where the speculation is. The speculation, or the dispute rather, is the number of individuals that are between Adnan and Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. That's the issue here. From different sources we have different positions. We have some, for example, which was the view that it was around 40 people between Adnan and Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. And this was the view that was adopted by the Christians and the Jews, and this was taken from an individual called Rakhia, and who had a clerk, Armiya, or Jeremy ibn Halqiya, who had recorded these individuals. Others have said different. Obviously 40 was the maximum. Some have said 30, 20, 15, 10, 9, 7. So you've seen quite a range, a spectrum from 7 all the way up to 40. Some have even given the lowest number of people between Adnan and Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam to be around 4. And this was according to Musa ibn Yaqub, who gave this particular view. And it was said that this was Ma'ad ibn Adnan ibn Adad ibn Zand ibn Yara ibn Arak al-Thara. So we're seeing that there's a range of opinions. What isn't disputed, what isn't argued, is that Adnan is in the lineage in between Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi salatu wasalam. So here we are. And we're going to try to sort of put some of these in front of you. I'm not going to go into sort of great detail about the various opinions as to who's, how old individuals were at certain times, but I will sort of point to you that this individual that I mentioned to you there, who was Ma'ad, and Ma'ad was the son of Adnan. So that I just want to sort of discuss this particular episode. And Ma'ad, who was the son of Adnan, he was around 12 years old at the time of Nebuchadnezzar. In the Arabic is referred to as Bukht Nasr, but in the English, or as it's understood within the Judaic and Christian faith is Nebuchadnezzar. And it's mentioned by At-Tabri, rahimahullah ta'ala, that Allah SWT sent revelation at that time to Armiya ibn Halqiya, telling him to go to Nebuchadnezzar to inform him that Allah SWT had given him rule over the land of the Arabs. And he was commanded Armiya was commanded to take with him Ma'ad ibn Adnan on the horse Al-Buraq, so that they would not have any problem or any rancor there, or any issues there. Because he said, from his loins I will bring a noble prophet by whom the prophets or the seal of the prophets will be carried out. So it carries on to say that Armiya did then take Ma'ad, the son of Adnan, on this Buraq to Sham, and he grew up amongst the Jews there until the destruction of the area in Bayt al-Maqdis. He then married a woman named Ma'ana, and she was a daughter of Joshin of Banu Dib ibn Jurham, before returning back to his own land. And when he returned, we can see sort of preserve this documentation. His scribe Armiya wrote it down in a document he had there to go into Armiya's library, and it was preserved there, the genealogy of Ma'ad. And that's how we have his genealogy. Obviously Ma'ad, from him we can link it to his father. So this has been clearly explained about how one links across one to the other. However, there were some individuals who questioned this when asked about the Prophet's descent to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. It says, Imam Malik, for example, mentions that where did this knowledge come from? When he was asked about tracing back to Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, he also wasn't very pleased when people would say, he says, who could provide such information? In fact, Malik disliked tracing the genealogy of the prophets, such as saying Ibrahim, son of so-and-so. So you can see here that some scholars adopted a very different approach altogether, and they were of the view that, look, we're not sure at all, because it's not come to us through tawatur, because it hasn't come to us qat'i, which is absolutely correct with no potential for being incorrect. We can't say with certainty. So it falls again into the conjecture and speculation. In fact, we have a comment made which ties in with Imam Malik's view, which is related of Urwa ibn Az-Zubair, who is reported to have said that we have found no one who knows the line between Adnan and Ismail. So even though we started the talk today in particular about the fact that there is agreement within individuals that Adnan is linked to Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, and as a result Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is also linked because he's linked to Adnan, there were many of the view that no one can say that categorically, because nobody knows absolutely. So therefore there's some understanding there. So there's some skepticism, if I can actually pronounce the word. There is some skepticism there. I tried it once more and I was better the second time round, in terms of whether there was this link absolutely established or not. In fact, it's reported, Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala mentions that Umar ibn Khatab radiallahu anhu used to say that we carry back the genealogy only as far as Adnan, and we don't really take it any further back than that. So in a book that Abu Umar ibn Abdul Bar mentions in his book, which is Al-Anba fi Ma'rifa Qaba'il al-Ruwa, and he mentions there that Abu al-Aswad heard Urwa ibn Zubair saying, we never found anybody who knew the genealogy past Adnan nor past Khatam unless they were using conjecture. So again, you're seeing a number of individuals suggesting that really it's conjecture and speculation past that point, because who has a record of that information? It's not been preserved, as we have seen preservation of the Quran, and as we've seen preservation of the Ahadith. So because it's not been preserved as well, especially going back before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and definitely going back before Adnan, it's not, you can't necessarily be sure. And if you can't be sure, you can't say categorically that so and so is the father or the grandfather. And that's how we have it until we actually reach to the poem that I mentioned to you itself. Before I do that Abu Umar says that the leading scholars regarding the genealogy of Adnan as his descent as Adnan ibn, so this is sort of going upwards, Adnan ibn, because whenever you say ibn it means the son of, so Adnan son of Udad, ibn Muqawwim, son of Muqawwim, ibn Nahur, ibn Tayra, ibn Ya'rub, ibn Yashjub, ibn Nabit, Ibn Ismail Ibn Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. So you can see here that there's some link drawn, and if we count the numbers, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in between Adnan and Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. As we said earlier, the difference of opinion goes from the smallest number of 4 all the way up to 40. And you know, we've got all that kind of conversation and that discussion going on. So what we wanted to do now is just mention what the Prophet ﷺ himself has said, and it's mentioned. Ibn Kathir mentions that Adnan is absolutely crystal clear to be Rasulullah is a descendant of Adnan. That's absolutely crystal clear. In fact, there is a marfu hadith which mentions that and supports this. So therefore, it is accepted that he is linked, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to Adnan. So I did promise you that I would highlight the lineage of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the way I would highlight it is through a poem put to him. Written regarding him rather by Imam Abul Abbas Abdullah ibn Muhammad al-Nashi. So here we go. I praise the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, seeking by praising him a large amount, an excess amount of the best of rewards for myself. I praise the man who is beyond praise, who is unique in his qualities, far beyond others, far or near. A prophet whose light has shone high in places east. His gifts are apparent to the people, even of the places in the west. The prophets brought him to us before his coming. News of him was spreading on all sides in all directions. The foretelling divines began calling his name, using it to remove and defend themselves off the impact of any misleading ideas. Idols were given voice, declaring to Allah the innocence of those who told the untruths. They spoke in clear words to those people who would not accept Islam. A prophet has come to you from Lu'ay ibn Ghalib. And the evil spirits who wanted to eavesdrop and catch some information, but shooting stars scattered them from their seats. He led us to where we would never find our way, so lengthy was our blindness to clear understandings. He brought evidences, he brought proofs that where have we gone? So he brought evidences and proofs showing that there were signs from one Allah in reward and punishment. One of which there was the splitting of the moon into two, and on mountain tops then, which were covered as if by a turban in the moonbeams. And another was the rising of water springs between his fingertips, while no wells or pools were near. By it he quenched the thirst of a large group of people, and the water flowed into small rivers in all directions down to plain lands. And a well brimmed over at his arrow's touch, one before too dry for even a single drinker to be satisfied. And the udder would flow due to the rub of his palm, which before that, when squeezed for liquid, had nothing to respond, or nothing would come out. And there were eloquent utterances from the hand of a fortune teller about the plans of an enemy who would be hell-bent on attack, and his being told of matters before their being, and of their effects to come when they did arise. And from those signs there were revelation he brought, one that is clear with multitude and a large number of wonders. Though thought could not conceive what he was to bring, here referring to the Quran, and so the like of it which no eloquent man could articulate, nor did it occur in the mind of any preacher. It encompassed all knowledge, embraced all wisdom, and it eluded the aim of any scheming, deceitful individual. He brought it to us not through the tale of a trickster, or the pages of a scribe, or the book of an author. Revelation comes to him sometimes to answer a question, or to respond to a solution that is requested from somebody, or in mentioning of someone who is conversing or informing him. From the beginning of proofs, the establishment of laws, the telling of narrations, or even the interpretation of purposes. For the quotation of proverbs, the proving of a case, the revealing of some hypocrite, or even the suspension or removal of one who lies. In the meeting of some assembly, or in the thick of some battle, or even when it was some difficult, puzzling matter. So it came to him in different ways, with straight meaning and many flowing in many varieties. And the verses confirmed each other as if their meanings were going to be scrutinized by some watchful eye. And the inability of man to achieve what we've just described is well known by those who attempted to imitate it. For his father he had Abdullah, the most noble of fathers, inheriting from him the most noble of qualities. So now what we're going to do is we're going to list in the way going up from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to his father, then grandfather and grandfather. So the names you will hear is just imagine that we're going up in his genealogy, in his lineage, towards Ismail ﷺ and then towards to Ibrahim ﷺ. So the first one is the father. And from Shayba, in whom Quraysh had pride above all others of honor and high station. And Shayba was another name for Abdul Muttalib, or that was his real name. Abdul Muttalib is his kunya. And he who by whose faces clouds were sought to bring rain, and his views were followed in troubled times. And then from Hashim, who built his lofty and honorable reputation through brave exploits. And Abd Manaf, who taught his people not to exceed the bounds of their ambitions and to control their desires. And Qusay, whose nobility of line is such to a level that is beyond anybody's reach. Through him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assembled the tribes after they had been split apart by the greed of those hands which steal. And Kilab, who attained a fortress in the peaks of glory beyond the reach of all. And Murrah, whose firmness of resolve was not dissolved by the disgrace of any fool or the evil of any sinner. And Ka'b, whose glory was so high for any fame seeker to reach in order to follow his footsteps, and who reached the highest rank with little effort. And Lu'ay, who wiped out his enemies and subdued them, the haughty and those, and he was most victorious. And Ghalib who had such courage that he refused from his people to be overcome by anyone mightier than him, and expelled from them every violent enemy. And Fihr, who was in an orator, people would rely upon him, the Quraysh would rely upon him in conflicts. And Malik, he was always the best of Maliks, always the best of kings, the most honorable of companions and the most honorable of master. And Nadr, who was such an elevation that would outstrip all, right at the top near the stars. And then we have Kinana, which we've already mentioned to you, displayed even before him qualities too fine for any conqueror to attain. And then we have before him Khuzaymah, who established in his honor the ancient heritage of honoring kin. And Mudrika, no man has achieved, because Mudrik has the verb yudrik, which means achieved, the like of what he has. He is the most virtuous and most high beyond any base pursuit. And then we have Ilyas, which is for him is al-ya'as, which is despair was dictated for his enemies even before the battle would ensue. And Mudar, total glory for him whenever he has mounted his warriors and met in battle. So you can see that their virtues are being extolled in the sense that either in battle or when we're referring to them in the case of honor. So the sorts of things that a man would like to be remembered for. One is bravery, one is honor, one is man of reputation, establishing good customs, being generous, these sorts of qualities. So we carry on from Mudar. And next is An-Nizar, who achieved a lofty position of leadership amongst his people that he outstripped everybody. And Ma'ad, which we've already mentioned to you, was an Udda. Udda here referring to means an instrument, an implement for his allies when they were fearing the plots of an enemy foe. And then Adnan, and Adnan we've already mentioned to you, is still in his virtue assessed unique and above all in terms of companion or peer. And after him is Ud, and this virtue, Ta'adda, he had discharged, he had fulfilled, he's sort of playing on words here, is the poet. Emanating from his self-resolve and inheritance. And in Udad, there was calm judgment, and he was a sage, he was a pious man, for calm judgment gains from the frowning of eyebrows, because when you sort of frown your eyebrows, you're normally deep in thought. And Hamesa, who reached ever new heights and followed the desired aspirations. And Nabt, who came from the family tree of glory And then we have after Qaidar, who was accorded the generosity of Hatim, the wisdom of Luqman, and the determination of Hajib. And then they were all the progeny of Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. So we reach there. So in this poem we have, let's see how many individuals. Between Adnan we have Udad, Hamaisa, Nabt, Qaidar. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 people in between Adnan and Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. And these were the progeny of Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. They were true to their vows, or rather he was true to his vows, a man whose level of greatness can never be exceeded by others. And then we have Khalilullah, the companion, if I can use that as a word to describe him, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, and he was the most noble of men ever to walk or ride upon earth. But we have the Imam of this poem who carries on and goes even beyond Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And he says, we then have Tariq, whose lasting reputation for generosity had made apparent his laudable deeds. And then we have Nahur, and Nahur means a Nahar, and Nahar is a butcher, because he used to butcher his enemies, and he had many accomplishments. And then we have Ashra, who was a forest lion in battle, and he would tear a person to shreds with his weapons. And then we have Arghu, who was again very much trusted in warfare, tenacious against a mean-spirited enemy. And we then have Falih, who is not left behind in his people in terms of his virtue rather, and nor does he pass beneath them. And then we have Shalih and Arfakhshid, and then Sam. And obviously Sam, we know, is the son of Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam. He had qualities so great as to protect them from any detractor or accuser. And then we have Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, who is held in high regard by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he counts him among the good men. And then his father is considered as Lamq, who was stood out as the finest, brave against any warrior. And then before Lamq there was Mutawashlich, who drove his enemies away with his spears. And then Idris alayhi salatu wasalam was a high status, very few could compare to him. And before him Yarid, a man who was great amongst his people's leaders, and he was held in high regard. And then Mihlail, who is a key man of high virtue and respect. And then we have Qainan, one who had acquired the glory of his people, reaching the summit of prestige. And then we have Anush, who had devoted himself to glory, and he deemed it far above the base desires. And then we have Sheeth, and he was a man of virtue and nobility, and this he had gained from Adam alayhi salatu wasalam as light that gathered. And then the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was noble, ever born. He emerged from the line of these fine distinguished individuals. His male forebearers matched his female ancestors. All are clear of any taint of disgrace. And then sends durood upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you can see poetic license. Some of these individuals that are mentioned there, obviously their character was very different, but this is poetic license in order, really, they are being given honor because of the fact that they carry the seed of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we have that poetic license to be able to sort of exaggerate in our terming. I did say that I would try to share with you sort of my lineage as well. So from myself it goes to my father, which is Dos Muhammad, and from him it goes to so I will just say son of Maulana Nur Muhammad, and then that's son of Maulana Mir Ahmad, son of Maulana Mia Musawwar Shah, son of Mia Anwar Shah, son of Ismail Shah, son of Shah Imran, son of Mubin Mia, son of Damnoon Ghul, son of Qutubuddin, son of Najmuddin, son of Diyauddin, and son of which is the sort of famous one, which is Kaka Sahib, as we refer to him, because our tribe is considered as Kaka Khel. And then we go to Bahadur Sahib, and then we go to son of Nadir Sahib, and then we go to son of Ghalib, and then we go to son of Adam Sahib, and then we go to son of Yasin Sahib, and we have Muhabbat and Sahib, and then we move on to Baqir Sahib, and then we move on to Mahmud Sahib, Ahmed, and then Saifuddin, and then Sa'aduddin, and Sayyid Luqman, and then Rijal Sahib, and then we have Qaf, very simple name, and Fatih, and then Sayyidina Ali, and then we have Ismail, and then we have Ja'far Siddiq radiallahu anhu, and then we have Muhammad Baqir radiallahu anhu, and we have Ali Zain al-Abidin radiallahu anhu, and we have then reached to Sayyidina Hussein radiallahu anhu, and then Fatima radiallahu anha, until we reach to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's a lineage of about, let me just quickly count that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35 people between myself and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we've explained that in great detail, and would go further to give you some more genealogical origins of the Arabs, and particularly with respect to Adnan, but we've run out of time for now, so I apologize on that note, but at least you've had a detail. And just to finish, to say, just to repeat what I said earlier, was that there is no absolute certainty beyond certain point, because of the fact that the information hasn't come through a 100% guaranteed to be factually correct. So as we've already said, much of after Adnan is speculation. Beforehand seems to be pretty much agreed. So what I'll hope to do is, if you can join me again in the next episode, is detail some more genealogical origins before we then start talking about the tribe of Quraysh. Where did this tribe come from? And as you can see, episode after episode, we're drawing closer to the arrival of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm sure you're as excited as I am for that great arrival. So we will be able to discuss and carry on our journey on Siratu Khatam an-Nabiyyin. I hope you can join me again, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.